So in case you missed it on yesterday's show, we gave you the latest on Andrew Wiggins and whether or not the team believes that he's going to return this season. Check that video out if you haven't already done so, and of course subscribe to the channel because we always give you the updates as it pertains to the Golden State Warriors. On top of the latest with Andrew Wiggins and Draymond Green going off about some of the people gossiping about his status, we talked about Gary Payton II, then the team announcing yesterday that GP2 going to be reevaluated, could return to the lineup as early as Sunday. This was a huge and under-the-radar acquisition at the NBA trade deadline for Golden State. They weren't sure what the status of Wiggins was going to be, and obviously he's a spectacular defensive player. If he's not going to return to the Warriors, even if he is, GP2 can give this team a much-needed defensive boost. It was that core injury that a lot of people weren't sure about, didn't know if GP2 was going to return at all this season, but him coming back on Sunday, huge for this playoff push. That's the latest on Gary Payton II, and now let's talk Jaylen Brown, and could Golden State target him in 2024 NBA free agency? All right, this is Golden State Warriors Today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. We're not talking NFL. We're talking NBA. Appreciate all of you for hopping on board, joining the show here today. We're breaking down the latest rumors about Jaylen Brown. A lot certainly to get to as it pertains to his status in 2024 NBA free agency. He's not sure if he's going to sign a contract extension with the Boston Celtics. So if he does not, and he does hit the market, could the Warriors be in play for JB? First, though, we want to hear from you, the audience. If you want Jaylen Brown in the Bay, rocking a Warriors uniform, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon like the video. If you don't want him to be targeted by Golden State in free agency, then I want you to comment why. Here's what JB had to say about his future in Boston. This is something that's been percolating over the last couple of years. First, it was, okay, we're not sure if him and Jason Tatum as an on-court pairing can find success at the NBA level consistently and compete for NBA championships. And now it's Jaylen Brown talking about whether or not he wants to continue his future in Boston for reasons on the court and off the court because he's trying to enter some business ventures. He's not sure if he can do that in Boston. Here's what he had to say. A lot to unpack here. I don't know. As long as I am needed, it's not up to me. We'll see how they feel about me over time, and I feel about them over time. Hopefully, whatever it is, it makes sense, but I will stay where I'm wanted. I will stay where I'm needed and treated correct. I just enjoy the time that you have now. If that's your whole career, it's your whole career. If it's not, it's not. Some of the greatest players of all time have not finished their careers with their organization. Michael Jordan retired a Wizard. Is there trouble in paradise for the Boston Celtics? I'll tell you this. If you weren't sure if you were going to return to your respective employer, you would have used verbiage like that, and you would kind of talk like that, where you don't say definitively, I want to end my career with the Boston Celtics. I absolutely love it here. This is the only place I've envisioned myself being since the Celtics drafted me out of Cal when I was a player development story, and I've turned into one of the top two-way players in the National Basketball Association. So with how he talked about his future in Boston, you can paint me skeptical. I'm not sure if he's going to return to the Celtics. Why? Because from the source, it's not like we're hearing this from somebody else, Jaylen Brown himself did not say, I am definitely going to continue my career as a Boston Celtic. And that becomes a very fascinating conversation across all basketball and NBA circles because JB is an absolute stud. You win NBA championships with two-way wings like JB. Now coming up, could Jaylen Brown actually join the Golden State Warriors? We're going to break that down, get to more of what he had to say. Is it even possible? Stay tuned for that. But first, another great deal from our friends at Fanatics. If you head to chatsports.com/thebay, you get the Bay hoodie here to my right. I'm rocking a nice little Nike hoodie today. Not a sponsor, but if you do, hit us up here at Chat Sports. But this hoodie, even better, the Bay. If you're rocking with the Warriors, Dub Nation, hop on board. Get this deal right now. Limited time only for this hoodie, $74.99. But you have to use that link down below for the deal to apply and so the Fanatics knows that Warriors Today sent you. As for what Jaylen Brown doing this season, once again, it's another marvelous campaign for him. And as we're about to show you, he has developed at an insane clip. This is a byproduct of a guy who gets in the lab. He works on his game. He cares about his craft. He's diligent about getting better, and he's on the complete other trajectory and side of the conversation from a guy like Ben Simmons, who's been content with just natural athletic ability. JB has always had that ability. Now he is turned into a Swiss Army knife and a menace on both ends of the floor. This year, 27 points per game on about 34.5% shooting from downtown. Not as good as years past, but more volume, more points per game. Still an excellent, excellent top-tier defender, and because of that, a pretty good rebounder as well. You look at the progression for Jaylen Brown from 2018-19 to now, the numbers that we just showed you, and what he did last year. Points per game, 13, 20, nearly 25, 23.5 respectively over those 4 years, leading into his best output this year. Field goal percentage has also continued to climb. 3-point percentages going up and down, but once again, you have to factor in the value there with how many 3-point shots you are taking. With the Warriors, as it pertains to Golden State, you are adding an all-star with Jaylen Brown. You are adding an elite two-way player, a guy who can fit in any system, a guy who, if you integrate him into this lineup as Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, maybe Draymond Green get a little bit older, and you combine him with some of the other pieces on this roster, he immediately becomes such a fascinating chess piece for Steve Kerr and hopefully Bob Myers. If he agrees to a contract extension, Joe Lacob, you got to give him the deal. Now, what would it mean for Andrew Wiggins? Well, right now we're not sure what the future of Andrew Wiggins is. The Warriors did sign him to that contract extension, but if you can dangle him as trade bait, if the on-court pairing does not make sense with Brown as well as Wiggins, you trade Wiggins away, you clear up that money, and you give the bag to Jaylen Brown, who's going to be somewhere in that neighborhood of what Wiggins got, of course, a little bit more expensive. So with that, this poll question, embrace debate down in the comments section. Do you want Jaylen Brown on the Warriors? Give me a Y for yes and for no sound off in the comments. Other Jaylen Brown destinations here from NBA.com, Heavy.com, NBA.com, and all these really NBA content creators, all talking about the subject matter right now. And when you think about it, a couple of different Jaylen Brown destinations here, which do make some sense. You pair him up with Trae Young in Atlanta, that would probably make more sense than pairing up Trae Young with DeJounte Murray, because this year it hasn't really worked to high levels of success for Atlanta. Chicago Bulls have been star hunting for a two-way star for a really long time. They have the offensive chess piece and Zach LaVine, but Jaylen Brown is a better player than Zach LaVine. Los Angeles Clippers, we'll see what the future is of Paul George as well as Kawhi Leonard, but that's certainly another destination that could make sense as those two players get a little bit older, or if you rid yourselves of one of their contracts, because JB, very similar to Kawhi and Paul George, them being two-way threats. Milwaukee Bucks, you put them with Giannis Antetokounmpo. What's the future of Chris Middleton? We're not sure. And then lastly, the Golden State Warriors, also thrown out there as a destination for Jaylen Brown. That's why we're talking about it, and I, in fact, think it makes a lot of sense as well. NBA executive on Jaylen Brown to the Warriors here. All the NBA teams might march out in protest if that happens, like the Warriors have not had enough good fortune, but he'd be a fit there, and they could sell him on being the top option as Steph takes more of a back seat. Getting the money to work would be the problem. He continued on by saying, all the NBA teams, they're going to look at Jaylen Brown and say, this guy can lead you to an NBA championship, which is why this is certainly fascinating. And if you want to extend your championship window, Jaylen Brown is that guy. And if you were to trade some pieces away because you feel as though a Jonathan Kuminga is not ready right now, that Jaylen Brown would be an upgrade over Andrew Wiggins. A Jonathan Kuminga, Andrew Wiggins trade package to then pave open financial wiggle room for Jaylen Brown, that is a very smart basketball move, in my opinion. Sean Devaney on Brown of the Warriors. He is an NBA insider. This is an unlikely spot, because it will require the Dubs to move on from some combination of Klay, Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, and that's hard to fathom. But Brown went to Cal. NorCal guy still has ties to the Bay Area. With a little creativity, the Warriors potentially could get Brown to San Francisco. Something else that Jaylen Brown did talk about is, as a young black entrepreneur, these are his words, it's been a struggle to start business ventures in Boston. So it's a cultural thing for him as well. And why did KD go to the Warriors? Partially because he wanted to be in Silicon Valley. And what have you seen since then for KD? He has his fingertips in a couple of different business stratospheres in multiple areas, including production, entertainment, for himself as well as others. Keep an eye on that, because these NBA players, these athletes in general, and who wouldn't? me, I'm included in that. If I could grow my business interests and find different revenue streams out there in addition to what I'm doing here, loving my broadcasting job here at Chat Sports, of course, smart way to think. So what would you give up for Jaylen Brown? Last question for you. Let us know down in the comments once more. Do not forget to subscribe to us here on Warriors Today. Just look back at how well some of the videos have been doing. You're not the only one who's been watching our stuff and hopefully enjoying it as well. So enjoy your weekends, and we'll catch you next time here on Warriors Today.